In 3-2-1.
99.9 The Fan, The Drive with Tim Donnelly. We are still out here in Charlotte for the ACC tip-off, and we are now joined by Steve Forbes, Wake Forest head men's basketball coach. Coach, thank you for taking the time to stop by. We've been talking about this with coaches throughout the day, but ACC basketball, it's crazy, but I feel myself defending it more than I have had to in the past, right? It used to be, it goes without saying, ACC basketball, but now – right, the decision-making is driven by football. This other conference is making strides. How do we preserve what the history tells us ACC basketball should be?
I just think we got to continue to accentuate the positives. And the positives are that, we're a basketball league. 7 of the teams in our league have won national championships or multiple national championships. Every year we're in the Final Four or the Elite Eight. That's undeniable. The most players drafted in the history of the NBA draft come from the ACC. Sometimes it fluctuates year to year, but it's not even close. You take a historical look at it and just go back 10 years. It's not close. And so, I think what has happened, and, it's the change in the coaches. We've lost, Coach K, Coach Williams, Coach Boeheim, Coach Bray. I mean, those are household names in the league for a long, long time. It doesn't mean that the league got bad. It just means we have change, and we have some really good young coaches that have come into the league, and I think we got to continue to accentuate that. I do think that, metrics have changed a lot of things. I'm not a huge fan of those things, but, it's something that we got to deal with, and I think that starts the narrative a little bit.
Another thing that has changed is the transfer portal, and it's made it so you could be in this conference one year, that conference the next year. Things are very fluid. Looking at kind of how, you had a big jump in your program. Does last year matter at all when you look at, all of the players, the characters could be different?
No question. That's one thing I've tried to educate our fans about is you got to come and see them for now. And I think the hard thing for fans is that they're so used to seeing guys 3-4 years. You don't have that anymore. So like when you have a Jake LaRavia or a Landis Williams or a Ty Appleby, you got to come see them this year, because you may not see them next year. Would we like to have them? Sure we would, but that's just not the nature of what it is right now.
Yep.
And I know that's hard for fans. And so I do think you have to build for each year. It's hard to have a program anymore. You can have an identity and a way you style play, but as far as having a program, it's a lot tougher now these days.
Steve Forbes, Wake Forest head men's basketball coach, joining us here on The Drive. A couple names you brought up, right? Alondis Williams, Tyree Appleby. Is that sustainable to just keep bringing in guys? And for as soon as they step on campus, they're lights out superstars. That's a good hit rate over the last couple of years.
And it's credit to them. They're the ones that did all the work. You put them in the position to be successful, and you hope that happens. And we feel good about the transfers that we have this year. Hunter Salas was a former McDonald's All-American that played for Mark Few at Gonzaga, who's forgot more basketball than I'll ever know. And, Efton Reed, who possibly, we're waiting on a waiver. Those two guys are really high-level players. And Boopy Miller from Central Michigan's a really good point guard, and Obramo Sanka from UCLA. So we've got – I think sometimes, too, it's important to get good players for good programs. And those guys have all been taught well. And so I'm not trying to sustain the whole program on that. I think you just got to be a mix. There's got to be good transfers, good high school players, good international players. And we've kind of got a mix of all that.
Yeah. Another name you brought up, Efton Reed, waiting on that waiver.
Yeah.
It's waiting on 2-time transfer waivers in the state of North Carolina. It's a hot button issue. How do you deal with that? And what can you learn from maybe some of the other high profile situations?
Honest truth is I don't deal with it, and I don't look at other situations because really truthfully, they're all different. The facts are the facts. I feel really good about Efton's waiver. We sent in over 100 pages of documentation. And I believe in our waiver, and I believe in the process. So I'm going to let the process play out and see what happens. But you can't really look at other people's situations because everybody's got a different situation, and none of us are privy to those details. And so it's just something that's just individual case by individual case.
from a basketball standpoint, how do you plan for? We might have another 7-footer, we might not.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, he practices every day, and it's not really in my mind as far as like our first game. You know, we actually play Alabama on Sunday in a charity game, which will be exciting. He won't play in that unless he's cleared. And then the following week we play Elon and open up. If he plays, he plays. If he don't, he don't. Life goes on, and he knows that. He's a great young man. But for me, if I sit here and plan for that, it would drive me insane. And so I just don't. And if he is, then that's house money, baby. Roll the dice.
Steve Forbes, Wake Forest head men's basketball coach, joining us here at ACC Tip-Off. You've done kind of everything in your 3 years at Wake, aside from get over that final hump and into the tourney. Is year 4 kind of tourney or bust?
Bust as far as what?
Well, it just is like as far as measuring this season of success.
I don't know. I mean, really, truthfully, this is year 3. First year doesn't count. I mean, it was COVID.
I agree with that.
It was COVID. My contract doesn't say that. So, I mean, I look at it as year 3. I know, I understand the question. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we want to make the tournament, but it's very disappointing to me. We can get back to talking about metrics that we can win 13 league games and not get in the tournament. We won 11 league games last year and then getting the NIT. Something's wrong with that.
Completely agree with that one.
And so, yes, for our fans, no question, we want to get to the tournament. You know, that's the goal every year. And how do we do that? Well, I think we got to win the right games. Okay, it gets down to that, right? We had 13 games last year that were decided by 3 points or less. We were in 6 and 7 of those, but we lost to 4 teams. They either went to the Final Four or the NCAA tournament. You got to win those games.
Coach, before we let you go, and we're getting the wrap it up signal, personal favor. I'm a Delaware Blue Hen.
Oh yeah.
So the next time you see an Andrew Carr in the portal coming out of Delaware,
don't do it.
Can you just shake his hand and say, you know what, you need to go right back from where you were trying to leave and just stay at Delaware?
Hey listen, I told Coach, I always want good players from good programs.
That is true. You did say that
earlier.
The
honest truth is, the reason why I took Andrew, because in the NCAA tournament, he had like 14 points against Villanova. I'm serious. And
that's our rival, by the way. So again, he became more beloved to us, and then that's the reason you took him.
Hey, so good players make good coaches.
Once a Blue Hen, always a Blue Hen. So I'm rooting for him.
All right,
thank you very much for stopping by.
Thanks. All right.